Welcome to Hugin and Munin Stories. In this special compilation, we've gathered the first 10 episodes of our enchanting Norse mythology and Scandinavian folklore bedtime stories. Sit back, relax, and let the timeless tales of gods, heroes, and mythical creatures transport you to the mystical north. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and enjoy the magic of these ancient legends.
Once, in the timeless realms, where the gods walked among the stars and humans thrived in their wisdom, there stood Heimdall, the radiant guardian. Known as the ancestor of humanity, Heimdall taught the first men and women the secrets of the runes, the symbols of wisdom and power that connected the mortal and divine. Heimdall was not just a teacher, but also a protector, a being of immense power and even greater mystery. His home was Himmelsberg, a serene sanctuary perched at the edge of Bifrost, the shimmering rainbow bridge connecting the mortal realm to Asgard, the kingdom of the gods. There, surrounded by celestial tranquility, Heimdall would sip on fine mead, his golden eyes always watching, always listening. It was said that Heimdall could see for miles, his sight piercing through the veils of night and day alike. His hearing was even more extraordinary, so acute that he could discern the gentle rustling of the grass as it grew and the soft whispers of wool forming on the backs of sheep. With these gifts, Heimdall needed less rest than a bird and was always prepared to defend Asgard. One evening, as the stars twinkled and the Milky Way spread its silver dust across the sky, a great disturbance rippled through the realms. The mighty Thor, known for his strength and valor, had lost his treasured hammer, Mjolnir. It had been stolen by the giant Thrym, who demanded the goddess Freyja's hand in marriage in exchange for the weapon. Thor was furious, and the gods were in turmoil. Without Mjolnir, Asgard was vulnerable. It was Heimdall who devised a cunning plan to retrieve the hammer. He suggested that Thor disguise himself as Freyja, donning a bridal dress and veil to trick Thrym into bringing the hammer to the wedding feast. Reluctantly, Thor agreed, and with Loki's mischievous help, the disguise was complete. Thor, now appearing as the beautiful Freyja, journeyed with Loki to the land of the giants. Thrym was overjoyed, believing he had won the goddess's hand. During the feast, as Thrym placed Mjolnir on the disguised Thor's lap to bless the union, Thor seized the hammer, shedding his disguise, and unleashed his fury. The giants were swiftly defeated, and Mjolnir was returned to Asgard. But this was not the end of Heimdall's vigilance. Many years later, as prophecies of the end times, Ragnarok, began to loom over the gods, Heimdall's senses grew even sharper. He knew the day would come when he would need to sound the Gjallarhorn, the great horn that would signal the beginning of the end. As the foretold twilight of the gods approached, a series of terrible events unfolded. The sky darkened and the earth shook. The great wolf Fenrir broke free from his bonds, and the Midgard serpent Jormungandr stirred in the depths of the oceans, causing massive waves to crash upon the shores. On the fateful day, as the armies of chaos gathered, Heimdall took his position at the end of Bifrost. With a deep breath, he blew into the Gjallarhorn, its sound resonating through the realms, waking the gods and signaling the final battle. The Aesir, the gods of Asgard, prepared for the ultimate confrontation. Amidst the chaos and destruction, Heimdall faced his destined foe, Loki, the trickster god. Their battle was fierce and relentless. The heavens trembled, and the earth groaned under the weight of their fury. In the end, both fell, mortally wounded, each a testament to the other's power and cunning. Ragnarok was a time of great sorrow, but it also marked a new beginning. The old world perished, but from its ashes a new world emerged, one of peace and renewal. The gods who survived, along with the humans, began to rebuild. Though Heimdall was no longer there to watch over the realms, his legacy endured. The runes he taught continued to guide the new generations, and his story was told under the stars, a reminder of the eternal guardian who shone over the world and protected it till his last breath. As the village of Helheim fell into slumber, the tale of Heimdall lingered in the air, a soothing melody that lulled the people into peaceful dreams. The night was serene, watched over by the spirits of old, and in the hearts of the people, the light of Heimdall's legacy shone brightly, promising hope and protection for all eternity. With the tale of Heimdall told, the village of Helheim embraced the calm of the night, knowing that even in the darkest times, the light of wisdom and vigilance would always guide them. And thus they slept, dreaming of the stars and the ancient guardian who watched over them from beyond the realms. Chapter 2: The Legacy of the Runes. Generations passed in Fjalheim, and the runes taught by Heimdall became integral to the village's way of life. These ancient symbols, carved into stones and woven into tapestries, were more than mere markings. They were a source of wisdom, strength, and guidance, believed to hold the essence of Heimdall's teachings and protective spirit. The village's seer, Astrid, was the most knowledgeable in the lore of the runes. Her visions and interpretations were sought after by many, from neighboring villages to distant travelers. Astrid's hut, located at the edge of the village near the forest, was adorned with intricate rune carvings, each telling a story of the gods and the ancient guardian. One crisp autumn day, a young man named Leif arrived at Astrid's hut, seeking guidance. Leif, with eyes as bright as the northern lights, was known for his curiosity and adventurous spirit. He had found a strange rune stone while exploring a nearby cave, and he hoped Astrid could unlock its secrets. Astrid welcomed Leif into her hut, her eyes sparkling with wisdom. She examined the stone, her fingers tracing the ancient symbols. The runes told a tale of a hidden treasure guarded by the spirit of Heimdall. Intrigued, Astrid and Leif decided to embark on a quest to uncover this hidden treasure, believing it could bring great prosperity to their village. Their journey began at dawn, under a sky painted with hues of pink and gold. As they ventured deeper into the forest, their air grew thick with mystery and anticipation. The trees whispered secrets of the past, and the path seemed to twist and turn on its own accord, as if guiding them towards their destination. After several days of traveling, Astrid and Leif arrived at the entrance of a hidden valley. The valley was said to be the resting place of Heimdall's treasure, a place where the ancient guardian spirit still lingered. They felt a strange energy in the air, a mixture of awe and reverence. As they explored the valley, they discovered a series of rune stones, each one telling a part of Heimdall's story. The runes spoke of his unwavering vigilance, his battle with Loki, and the wisdom he imparted to humanity. Guided by the runes, they finally arrived at a large stone altar covered in moss and ancient carvings. Astrid placed the runestone Leif had found onto the altar, and as she did, the ground beneath them trembled. A hidden chamber opened, revealing a trove of treasures, golden relics, ancient scrolls, and a magnificent horn, much like the Jallarhorn of legend. It was a sight to behold, a testament to the glory and legacy of Heimdall. Among the treasures, Astrid found a scroll that detailed the secrets of the runes, knowledge that had been lost for generations. This newfound wisdom would strengthen their village, enhancing their understanding of the runes and their connection to the divine. With their hearts full of gratitude and awe, Astrid and Leif returned to Helheim, bringing the treasures and knowledge they had uncovered. The village rejoiced, celebrating the return of their heroes and the blessings of Heimdall. Chapter 3: A New Dawn. In the years that followed, Helheim thrived. The wisdom contained within the ancient scrolls guided the villagers in their daily lives, strengthening their bonds and enhancing their prosperity. The runes were revered more than ever, seen as a direct link to Heimdall's legacy and protection. Astrid continued to share her knowledge, teaching the younger generations the secrets of the runes. Leif, inspired by their adventure, became a guardian of the village, his adventurous spirit now tempered with the wisdom of the ancient guardian. One winter's night, as the village gathered around a roaring fire, Astrid recounted their journey to the hidden valley. She spoke of the treasures they found and the wisdom they uncovered. But most importantly, she spoke of the spirit of Heimdall, who continued to watch over them, guiding and protecting them from beyond the realms. As the night deepened and the fire crackled, the villagers felt a sense of peace and unity. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, the legacy of Heimdall would always be with them, a beacon of light and wisdom. Astrid's voice grew softer, a gentle smile on her face as she looked around at the sleepy-eyed children and the contented villagers. And so, our story concludes for today. As you lay your heads down to rest, may you dream of the stars, the ancient guardian, and the eternal light of hope and protection that watches over us all. Good night, dear villagers, and may Heimdall's wisdom guard your dreams. With that, the villagers slowly dispersed, the warmth of the fire lingering in their hearts. The night was serene, and under the starlit sky, the village of Helheim drifted into peaceful slumber, secure in the knowledge that they were forever watched over by the spirit of Heimdall.
In the realms of Norse mythology, where the skies are vast and the lands are rugged, lived Odin, the highest of all the Aesir. He was known by many names, over 200 in fact, but in Sweden he was best known as Odin. Some called him Allfather or Wotan. He was a god of death and war, but also, intriguingly, a god of life, for he had given life to the first humans, Ask and Embla. Odin's wisdom was unparalleled. He was versed in the mysterious art of Seda, an ancient form of Norse magic. His knowledge was vast, and his insight deep, a result of countless sacrifices and quests for knowledge. Every morning, Odin would rise with the dawn, his one remaining eye gleaming with the knowledge of the cosmos. His other eye, the one he had sacrificed for wisdom, lay at the bottom of Mimir's well. This well, the source of all wisdom, had granted him the ability to see and hear everything that transpired in the world. By his side were his faithful companions, two ravens named Hugin and Munin, whose names meant thought and memory. Each day these ravens flew across the world, gathering news and whispering secrets into Odin's ear upon their return. He also had 2 wolves, Gyr and Frigg, whose names meant the greedy and the ravenous. They prowled the halls of Valhalla, ever vigilant, ever hungry. Valhalla, Odin's grand hall, was the largest and most magnificent in all of Asgard. Its walls were lined with shields and its rafters made of spears. Here, the bravest of warriors who fell in battle were welcomed. These men and women, chosen by the Valkyries, spent their afterlife in training for Ragnarok, the final battle of the gods. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned to a deep indigo, Odin sat in his great hall, pondering the mysteries of the universe. His spear, Gungnir, leaned against his throne. This magical spear, which always hit its target, was a symbol of his unerring judgment. At his feet lay Draupnir, his arm ring that every 9th night dripped out 8 identical gold rings, a symbol of endless prosperity and continuity. The hall was quiet, save for the crackling of the fire and the occasional howl of his wolves. Odin's mind wandered back to a pivotal moment in his quest for wisdom, a time when he had sacrificed himself to himself. It was a story not often told, but one that defined his journey towards enlightenment. Many ages ago, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, Odin sought the runes, the sacred symbols that held the secrets of the universe. To obtain this knowledge, he approached the great world tree, Yggdrasil, and there he made the ultimate sacrifice. He speared himself with Gungnir and hung from the tree for 9 days and 9 nights. During this time, he received no food, no water, and was battered by the elements. On the 9th night, as he hung there on the brink of death, the runes finally revealed themselves to him. These symbols, known as the Futhark, appeared in his mind, bringing with them a flood of understanding. With this newfound knowledge, Odin fell from the tree, reborn and imbued with the wisdom he had sought. As he recalled this tale, Odin's gaze fell upon his 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, grazing outside the hall. Sleipnir was no ordinary steed. He could travel over land, sea, and through the air. This remarkable horse had carried Odin on countless journeys through the 9 realms and beyond. Odin's reverie was interrupted by a familiar call. Hugin and Munin had returned from their daily flight. They landed gracefully on the armrests of his throne, their eyes gleaming with the day's discoveries. Odin listened intently as they relayed news from Midgard, the realm of humans and the other worlds. Tonight, their news was of great importance. They spoke of an impending threat, a disturbance that could ripple through the realms and bring about chaos. It was a whisper of Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. Though the details were murky, the urgency was clear. Odin knew he had to act. He summoned his sons, Thor, the thunder god, Balder, the god of light, Herder, the blind god, Vali, the avenger, Vidar, the silent god, and Hermodr, the messenger. Together, they strategized, each contributing their unique strengths and perspectives. Odin's wisdom, Thor's strength, Balder's purity, Hordr's resilience, Vali's determination, Vidar's patience, and Hermodr's speed. All would be needed in the days to come. The night wore on, and the fires in Valhalla burned brightly. Outside, the skies were clear, and the stars shone like diamonds. Odin knew that to prevent the looming disaster, he needed to delve deeper into the mysteries of the universe. He needed more knowledge, more insight. In the stillness of the night, he decided to seek out the Well of Word, a place of ancient magic and profound wisdom. This well, guarded by the Norns, Urda, Verdandi and Skuld, was said to hold the secrets of destiny itself. Odin had visited the well before, but never had the need been so great. He prepared for the journey, taking only Sleipnir and his spear, Gungnir. Before leaving, he embraced Frigg, his beloved wife. She understood the gravity of his mission and gave him her blessing. With a final glance at Valhalla, Odin mounted Sleipnir and set off into the night. The journey to the Well of Wyrd was long and treacherous. Sleipnir's 8 legs carried them swiftly over mountains and through forests. The landscape changed from the familiar to the strange as they crossed into realms seldom visited by gods or men. Odin's mind was sharp, his senses heightened by the urgency of his quest. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the Well of Wyrd. The air was thick with magic, and the presence of the Norns was palpable. These ancient beings, who wove the threads of fate, greeted Odin with a knowing look. They understood why he had come. Odin approached the well, his heart heavy with the weight of his people's future. He peered into its depths, seeking answers. The water shimmered, and visions began to form. He saw glimpses of battles yet to be fought, of heroes rising and falling, of the delicate balance between order and chaos. The Norns spoke in unison, their voices weaving a tapestry of prophecy and warning. They told him of the paths that lay ahead, the choices that must be made, and the sacrifices that would be required. Odin listened, absorbing every word, every nuance. His mind raced, formulating plans and contingencies. As the visions faded, Odin felt a profound sense of clarity. He had the knowledge he needed, but the burden of it was immense. The future was not set in stone, but the paths were perilous. He thanked the Norns and mounted Sleipnir once more, ready to return to Asgard. The journey back was swift, driven by the urgency of the task ahead. As they neared Valhalla, the dawn broke, bathing the hall in golden light. Odin felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced countless challenges before, and this would be no different. The knowledge he had gained from the Well of Wyrd would guide him and his people through the trials to come. Back in Valhalla, Odin called a council of the gods. He shared the wisdom he had gathered, outlining the steps they needed to take to avert the impending catastrophe. Each god took on their role with determination, ready to face the challenges head-on. Days turned into weeks, and the gods worked tirelessly. Odin's wisdom guided them, his strategic mind foreseeing and countering threats. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, struck down enemies with unparalleled force. Baldur's light shone brightly, giving hope to all. Herder, despite his blindness, fought valiantly, his other senses compensating for his lack of sight. Vali's resolve was unwavering, and Vidar's silent strength provided a steady foundation. Hermod's speed ensured that messages and strategies were swiftly communicated. Amidst the chaos, Odin found moments of solace, reflecting on the journey he had undertaken. He remembered his sacrifice on Yggdrasil, the revelation of the runes, and the countless battles fought. Each experience had shaped him, made him the god he was. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned crimson, Odin stood at the edge of Valhalla, gazing out over the land. His heart swelled with pride and love for his people. They had faced incredible odds and emerged stronger. The threat of Ragnarok still loomed, but he knew that together they could face anything. In the quiet of the night, Odin returned to his throne, Gungnir by his side. Hugin and Munin perched on the armrests, their eyes ever watchful. Gear and Freyk lay at his feet, their ears perked, alert to any danger. As he sat there, a sense of peace washed over him. He had done all he could, guided by wisdom and love. The future was uncertain, but he faced it with the knowledge that for now, peace was certain. In the realm of Asgard, where gods and goddesses walked among towering palaces and lush gardens, there existed a tale woven with magic, betrayal, and redemption. This tale, told in whispers under the stars and by flickering hearth fires, was the story of Idun, the goddess of youth, and her golden apples. Idun, whose name meant the rejuvenating one, was cherished among the gods for her gifts that bestowed eternal youth. Her apples, golden and radiant, were kept in a wicker basket that never seemed to grow empty. These precious fruits preserved the gods' vitality and beauty, keeping age and decay at bay. Idun, with her luminous presence and kind heart, was the embodiment of youth and renewal. She was the daughter of the dwarf Ivaldi and married to Bragi, the god of poetry, who often recited verses inspired by her ethereal charm. One crisp morning, the peace of Asgard was shattered by a commotion. Loki, the cunning and mischievous god known for his trickery, found himself in a heated argument with Trickster, a fearsome giant from Jotunheim. Trickster, with his towering stature and piercing eyes, demanded something in return for the offences Loki had committed. Desperate to save his own skin, Loki promised Trickster a prize that even the mightiest of gods would covet, Idun and her golden apples. With his promise made, Loki devised a plan. He approached Idun with a warm smile, masking his deceit. "Dear Idun," he began, "I have heard whispers of apples that surpass even yours in beauty and power. They grow deep within the forest, where few dare to venture. Would you not wish to compare them to your own?" Idun, innocent and curious, agreed to follow Loki. Together they wandered into the dense forest, where sunlight filtered through the canopy in delicate patterns. As they ventured deeper, an uneasy feeling gnawed at Idun, but she trusted Loki, believing his intentions to be pure. Suddenly, Trickster appeared, his presence overwhelming the serene forest. With a swift motion, he seized Idun and her basket of golden apples. In an instant, he whisked her away to Jotunheim, leaving Loki alone in the silent woods. The forest, once vibrant, now seemed cold and foreboding. In Jotunheim, Trickster imprisoned Idun in a lofty tower, far from the reach of the other gods. Without Idun and her apples, the gods of Asgard began to age. Their youthful appearances faded, replaced by wrinkles and grey hair. The once vibrant halls of Asgard grew sombre, and a sense of despair settled over the land. The gods soon discovered Loki's treachery and demanded he rectify his betrayal. Faced with the wrath of his fellow gods, Loki had no choice but to retrieve Idun. He borrowed Freya's falcon disguise, a cloak of feathers that allowed him to soar through the skies, and set off towards Jotunheim. Flying over mountains and icy plains, Loki finally reached the towering stronghold where Idun was held captive. With the stealth and speed of a falcon, he entered the tower. There, he found Idun, her radiance undiminished despite her imprisonment. Using his magic, Loki transformed Idun into a small, inconspicuous nut, which he clasped tightly in his claws. As Loki prepared to flee, Trickster returned from his hunt. Realizing Idun was missing, the giant donned his eagle disguise and pursued Loki with relentless fury. The skies above Asgard filled with the sounds of their chase, wings beating, talons grasping at the air. The gods of Asgard, upon seeing Loki's approach, gathered at the walls with bundles of wood shavings. As Loki, in falcon form, swooped over the walls and into safety, the gods set the shavings ablaze. Trickster, unable to halt his momentum, flew straight into the inferno. His feathers caught fire, and with a roar of agony, he plummeted to the ground, defeated. Idun was restored to her true form, and with her return, she brought the golden apples that rejuvenated the gods once more. Asgard's vibrancy was restored, and the gods celebrated their renewed youth and vigor. However, the tale did not end there. Trickster had a daughter, the giantess Skadi, who was as fierce and determined as her father. When she learned of Trickster's death, she vowed to avenge him. Clad in armor and wielding a bow, Skadi marched to Asgard, her eyes blazing with fury. The gods, respecting her grief and determination, offered Skadi a place among them to appease her wrath. They allowed her to choose a husband from among the gods, but she could only see their feet when making her choice. Skadi selected Njord, the god of the sea, thinking he was bolder due to his beautiful feet. Though their marriage was troubled, with Skadi preferring the mountains and Njord the sea, a peace of sorts was achieved. Skadi found solace in the company of Ullr, the god of winter, and often roamed the snowy peaks where she felt most at home. Idun, back in Asgard, continued to nurture her golden apples, ensuring the gods remained youthful and vigorous. She forgave Loki, understanding the complexities of his nature. Despite his trickery, it was his actions that ultimately returned her to Asgard. Bragi, Idun's husband, composed poems that celebrated their adventures and the trials they had overcome. His verses, rich with emotion and imagery, became timeless tales that were passed down through generations. Years passed, and Idun's story became a legend. The gods, forever youthful, continued their divine duties, and Asgard thrived. Idun, with her basket of golden apples, remained a symbol of renewal and hope, her presence a reminder of the power of forgiveness and the resilience of the spirit. And so, as the stars twinkled above and the world slept, the tale of Idun and her golden apples was told and retold, a bedtime story for the ages, bringing comfort and wonder to all who heard it. But there is more to the tale, for even in Asgard, not all stories end perfectly. Loki, ever the trickster, could not resist playing one final prank. He approached Idun one evening, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Idun, have you ever wondered what might happen if your apples were to be planted in the soil of Midgard?" he asked, feigning innocence. Idun, her curiosity piqued, shook her head. "No, Loki, I have not, but I trust that you have a reason for asking." Loki grinned. "Indeed I do. Why not plant a single apple and see what grows? Perhaps a tree that bears even more magical fruit." Intrigued by the possibility, Idun agreed. She took one of her golden apples and, with great care, planted it in a secluded glade in Midgard. She nurtured the sapling with the same tenderness she showed her basket of apples, visiting it often. As the seasons passed, the tree grew tall and strong, its branches heavy with blossoms that shimmered like gold. One day, to Idun's delight, the tree bore fruit, apples that were even more magnificent than those she had carried in her basket. News of the miraculous tree spread quickly, and soon people from all corners of Midgard came to see the wonder for themselves. They marveled at the golden apples and the tree's ethereal beauty. Some dared to taste the fruit, and to their amazement, they felt a surge of vitality and strength. The tree became a symbol of hope and renewal for the people of Midgard, much like Idun's apples had been for the gods. Idun was pleased, knowing that her gift had brought joy and health to many. She continued to tend to the tree, ensuring that it flourished for generations to come. However, not everyone viewed the tree with admiration. There were those who coveted its power, desiring the apples for themselves. They plotted to steal the fruit, hoping to gain eternal youth and strength. One such individual was a warrior named Hugin. Driven by ambition and greed, he devised a plan to take the golden apples by force. Under the cover of night, he gathered a group of men and set out for the glade where the tree stood. Idun, sensing trouble, rushed to the tree's defense. She stood before Hakon and his men, her presence radiant and commanding. "This tree is not yours to take," she declared. "It is a gift for all who seek hope and renewal, not for those driven by greed." Hakon sneered, unimpressed by the goddess's words. "Step aside, Idun, or face the consequences." But Idun was not alone. From the shadows emerged Bragi, his eyes fierce with determination. "You will not harm her," he said, his voice steady. "Leave now, or face the wrath of the gods." Hakon hesitated, sensing the power in Bragi's words. But his greed overpowered his fear. He raised his sword, ready to strike, but before he could move, a brilliant light filled the glade. The gods of Asgard, led by Odin himself, had come to protect Idun and the sacred tree. Odin, with his commanding presence, spoke with authority. "Hakon, you have chosen a path of destruction and greed. You will not take what does not belong to you." Realizing the futility of his actions, Hakon dropped his sword and fell to his knees. "Forgive me," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "I was blinded by my desires." Odin nodded, his expression stern yet compassionate. "Let this be a lesson to you and to all who seek to take without giving. The gifts of the gods are meant to be shared, not hoarded." With that, Hakon and his men retreated, humbled and remorseful. Idun and Bragi stood together, their bond strengthened by the ordeal. The golden tree continued to flourish, its apples a testament to the power of hope and renewal. As the years passed, the tale of Idun, her golden apples, and the miraculous tree became a cherished legend in both Asgard and Midgard. It was a story of youth, betrayal, and redemption, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, there is always light. And so, under the starry skies, the people of Midgard and the gods of Asgard alike would gather to hear the tale, finding comfort and inspiration in its timeless message. For in the end, it was not just a story of gods and giants, but a story of the enduring spirit of hope and the unbreakable bond of love.
Once upon a time, in the ethereal realms where gods and giants dwelled, there lived a mischievous and complex being named Loki. Unlike many of the Aesir gods, Loki was not born of divine lineage, but of the giant race. His father, Farboti, was a fearsome giant, and his mother, Lafe, was known for her cunning and sharp mind. Despite his origins, Loki had woven himself deeply into the fabric of the Aesir, forming an unbreakable bond with the chief god, Odin. They were blood brothers, bound by sacred oaths and shared experiences that solidified their bond in the grand halls of Asgard. Loki's nature was as fluid as his form. He could shift shapes and genders at will, a talent that often served his purposes, whether for trickery or for aiding the gods. His most notable transformation was when he bore Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse, after turning into a mare to seduce a giant stallion. This event, while perplexing to some, showcased Loki's unpredictable and versatile essence. Loki's wife, Sigrun, was a paragon of loyalty and patience. Together, they had a son named Narfi. Sigrun's steadfastness was put to the test countless times, especially considering Loki's penchant for causing chaos. However, her love for him never wavered, and she stood by his side through thick and thin. Sigrun's loyalty was a beacon in Loki's tumultuous life, a reminder that even the most unpredictable hearts could find solace in the constancy of true love. Despite his bonds with the Aesir and his family, Loki's giant blood often got the better of him. His envy and capriciousness led him to commit acts that strained his relationships with the gods. Yet, it was his cleverness and resourcefulness that kept him in their company, often solving problems he himself had created. His ability to think on his feet and weave intricate plots made him an invaluable, albeit dangerous, ally to the gods. One fateful day, Loki's path crossed with that of Angroda, a giantess known for her dark beauty and formidable power. From their union came 3 offspring, each more fearsome than the last: the Midgard serpent, Fenrir the wolf, and Hel. The Midgard serpent, or Jormungandr, was so immense that it encircled the world, biting its own tail. Fenrir was a colossal wolf, prophesied to bring about destruction, and Hel ruled over the realm of the dead, her half-dead, half-living visage striking fear into all who beheld her. These children were not just symbols of Loki's chaotic nature, but harbingers of doom, each with a role in the foretold end of days, Ragnarok. The gods, wary of these omens, took measures to bind and control Loki's monstrous progeny. Fenrir, particularly, posed a direct threat. The gods, under the guise of a game, tried to bind him with various chains, but Fenrir broke each one effortlessly. Finally, they crafted a magical ribbon, Gleipnir, which held him fast. As a condition of his binding, Fenrir demanded that one of the gods place a hand in his mouth as a show of good faith. Only Tyr, the brave god of war, stepped forward, losing his hand in the process. Loki's relationship with the gods was further strained by his insatiable need for attention and his relentless mischief. This all came to a head with one of his most infamous deeds, the death of Balder. Balder, beloved by all for his beauty and goodness, had dreams foretelling his own death. To protect him, his mother, Frigg, extracted oaths from every creature and object to not harm Balder. However, she overlooked the humble mistletoe. Loki, ever the opportunist, crafted a dart from the mistletoe and tricked the blind god Hodir into throwing it at Balder during a festival game. The dart struck true, and Balder fell dead, plunging the gods into mourning. This act was the final straw for the Aesir. The gods seized Loki, their once companion, now fully revealed as their greatest enemy. His punishment was severe and symbolic of the gravity of his crimes. They took Narfi, Loki's son, and transformed his entrails into unbreakable iron chains. Using these chains, they bound Loki to 3 sharp stones in a dark cave deep beneath the earth. Above him, they suspended a venomous serpent, its fangs dripping poison onto Loki's face. Loki's agony was relentless. The venom burned and seared, causing him to writhe in pain so intense that it sent tremors through the earth. Yet, in this darkest hour, Sigrun remained by his side. She held a bowl above him to catch the serpent's venom, shielding him from its full torment. However, there were moments when the bowl would fill, and she had to leave to empty it. During those brief times, the venom would strike Loki's face, and his resulting convulsions would shake the world, causing earthquakes. Despite his confinement and the relentless suffering, Loki's spirit remained unbroken. His mind raced with thoughts of revenge and escape, even as his body lay chained. He knew that his time would come, that the bonds of fate would eventually unravel, and he would rise again to bring about the end of days. Years turned into centuries, and Loki's legend grew among mortals and gods alike. His tales were told as cautionary lessons about the dangers of deceit, the price of mischief, and the complex nature of those who walk between the lines of order and chaos. In Asgard, the other gods often gathered to discuss the ever-looming threat of Ragnarok. Odin, with his all-seeing eye, frequently peered into the future, seeking any sign that Loki's bonds might weaken. Thor, with his mighty hammer Mjolnir, stood ever ready to defend against the chaos Loki was destined to unleash. The gods knew that the time of peace they enjoyed was fleeting, a calm before the storm. Loki's children, too, remained bound, but ever restless. The Midgard serpent continued to encircle the world, growing larger with each passing year. Fenrir, despite his binding, howled in fury, his voice echoing through the realms. Hel ruled her cold, shadowy domain with a stern hand, awaiting the day she would rise with her kin. In the mortal realm, humans lived their lives under the watchful eyes of the gods, telling tales of the trickster god who lay bound in the earth. They spoke of Sigrun's unwavering devotion, a testament to the strength of love in the face of unimaginable suffering. The stories of Loki and his deeds became a part of their culture, a blend of fear, awe, and curiosity. One night, as Sigrun tended to her husband, Loki spoke to her in a rare moment of vulnerability. "Sigrun, my love," he began, his voice strained with pain and remorse. "Why do you stay with me even now, after all I've done?" Sigrun, her eyes filled with sorrow yet unwavering love, replied, "Because, Loki, I see the good in you, the part of you that others overlook. I remember the times you brought joy and laughter to our lives, the moments when your cleverness saved us from disaster. I stay because I believe there is still hope, even for you." Loki's eyes, usually filled with mischief and defiance, softened as he looked at his devoted wife. In that moment, he felt a flicker of something he rarely experienced: gratitude. He knew that despite his many flaws, Sigrun's love was genuine and pure. As time marched on, the gods continued to prepare for the inevitable. Odin sought counsel from the Norns, the weavers of fate, hoping to find a way to prevent the catastrophic events foretold by prophecy. But the Norns, bound by their own rules, could only offer cryptic warnings and glimpses of the future. Odin's concern grew, knowing that every effort to alter fate might merely bring it closer to fruition. In his bound state, Loki's mind never ceased to scheme. He imagined countless ways to break free, to reclaim his place among the gods, or to exact revenge upon them. His thoughts drifted to his children, each powerful in their own right. He knew they were bound by fate, just as he was, and that their combined strength would be formidable. The day finally arrived when the earth shook more violently than ever before. Sigrun, ever diligent, was by Loki's side, her bowl catching the venomous drops. But something was different this time. The tremors grew stronger, more insistent. The air crackled with a strange energy, and even the gods in Asgard felt the shift. Odin, sensing the impending doom, called a council of the gods. "Time is upon us," he declared, his voice heavy with the weight of countless years of foreknowledge. "Ragnarok is nigh, and we must be ready." Thor, with his indomitable spirit, stood tall. "We will face it head on, Father. We will not let Loki and his spawn destroy our world." The gods armed themselves, each preparing for the battle they had long dreaded. Freyja donned her war gear, Tyr readied his sword, and Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, blew the Jellohorn, signaling the beginning of the end. In the depths of the earth, Loki felt the chains that bound him begin to weaken. His heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fury. The prophecy was coming to pass. He turned to Sigrun, his voice filled with a mix of sorrow and resolve. "Sigrun, my love, the time has come. I must fulfill my destiny." Sigrun, her heart breaking, nodded. "Go, Loki. Do what you must. But remember, I have always loved you, despite everything." With a final, mighty effort, Loki broke free of his chains. The venomous serpent fell away, and Loki stood, his body weak but his spirit aflame with purpose. He emerged from the darkness, ready to face the gods and lead his children in the final battle. The world trembled as Loki and his monstrous offspring rose to challenge the Aesir. The sky darkened, and the air grew thick with the scent of destiny. The gods, armed and resolute, stood ready to defend their realm. The clash between the gods and Loki's forces was cataclysmic. Thor battled Jormungandr, their fight shaking the very foundations of the earth. Odin faced Fenrir, knowing that his own death was foretold by the prophecy. Hel's legions of the dead surged forth, met by the valiant spirits of fallen warriors led by Freyja. Amid the chaos, Loki sought out his nemesis, Heimdall. Their duel was fierce, a dance of fate and fury. In the end, both fell, their destinies intertwined in death as they had been in life. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded, the world lay in ruins. The gods and their foes had fought to the bitter end, fulfilling the prophecy of Ragnarok. Yet, from the ashes of destruction, new life began to stir. The cycle of death and rebirth, chaos and order continued unabated. Loki's tale, with all its twists and turns, remained etched in the hearts and minds of gods and mortals alike. His story was a testament to the complexity of fate, the power of love and loyalty, and the enduring struggle between light and darkness. And so, dear listener, as you drift into slumber, remember the tale of Loki. Let it remind you that even in the darkest times, there's always a flicker of light, a glimmer of hope. sleep well, and dream of a world where every action, every choice, weaves a part of the grand tapestry of fate.
In the misty highlands of Västergötland, nestled near the tranquil town of Falköping, lies the mystical Alleberg. This mountain, with its steep cliffs and verdant slopes, is more than just a natural wonder. It harbors an ancient secret, one that bridges the realms of myth and reality, woven into the fabric of time itself. Long ago, during the Age of Migration, the Roman Empire had fallen, and new kingdoms rose from its ashes. To cement their rule and legitimize their power, kings sought to connect themselves to the ancient legends of old. Thus, the tale of Alleberg's riders was born, a creation myth that spoke of valor, loyalty, and an eternal bond between warriors and their homeland. One cool autumn evening, a humble farmer named Eric was making his way to the market in Falköping with a cart laden with grain. Eric was a simple man, known for his honesty and hard work. He lived a modest life with his wife Ingrid and their two children, Freya and Lars. The journey to Falköping was a routine task, but tonight the air was charged with a peculiar sense of anticipation. The road was long and winding, cutting through dense forests and rolling hills. As dusk approached, a dense fog began to roll in, wrapping the world in a thick, silvery blanket. Eric, though wary, pressed on, his horse's hooves clopping steadily along the cobblestone path. The fog seemed almost alive, swirling and shifting in ways that played tricks on the eye. As Eric neared the end of Alleberg, he noticed a tall, shadowy figure emerging from the fog. The figure, draped in a dark cloak, approached him with an air of authority. "Good evening, traveler," the man said, his voice deep and resonant. "I see you carry a fine load of grain. Would you consider selling it to me?" Eric, intrigued and a bit apprehensive, nodded. "Of course, sir. But may I ask why you wish to buy it here, so far from the market?" The stranger smiled, his eyes glinting mysteriously. "Follow me and you shall see." Curiosity piqued, Eric followed the man up a hidden path that led into the heart of Alleberg. As they walked, the fog seemed to part for them, revealing a grand entrance to a hidden cavern. Inside, the air was cool and still, and the walls gleamed with an otherworldly light. The path wound deeper into the mountain, and Eric's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and excitement. They entered a vast hall, and Eric's eyes widened in awe. Before him lay a legion of knights, each clad in gleaming armor, their swords and shields by their sides. They lay in peaceful slumber, as if frozen in time. The air was thick with the sense of history and legend. The knights were arranged in rows, their faces serene, as though caught in the midst of a dream. Eric's foot accidentally brushed against a bridle, sending a soft chime echoing through the cavern. At once, the knights stirred, their eyes opening in unison. One of the knights, a noble-looking figure with a golden crest on his helmet, sat up and asked, "Is it time?" The man in the cloak, who now seemed to be a part of this ancient legend, gently shook his head. "Not yet, brave ones. Sleep on, for the world still has need of your rest." Eric watched in wonder as the knights settled back into their slumber. The man in the cloak turned to him and said, "These are the legendary riders of Alleberg. When the world is in its darkest hour, they shall awaken to defend the land once more. Until then, they sleep, waiting for their call to glory." Eric's heart swelled with the weight of the revelation. He knew he had witnessed something extraordinary, something that connected him to the ancient past. The man in the cloak thanked him for the grain, which would sustain the riders in their long sleep, and guided him back to the entrance. As Eric made his way back to Falköping, the fog began to lift, and the stars twinkled brightly in the night sky. He never spoke of his encounter, but the memory remained vivid in his heart, a reminder of the hidden wonders of the world. Days turned into weeks, and life in the village continued as usual. Yet Eric's thoughts often drifted back to the mysterious encounter. He found himself gazing at Alleberg, wondering about the knights who slept within its depths. The legend of Alleberg's riders became a secret that he held close, sharing it only with his wife Ingrid. One evening, as Eric and Ingrid sat by the hearth, he recounted the tale to her. Ingrid listened intently, her eyes widening with amazement. "Do you think they will ever awaken?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eric nodded slowly. "I believe they will when the world needs them most." Ingrid placed a comforting hand on Eric's. "Then we must hope that such a time never comes, for it would mean great peril for all of us." Years passed, and Eric's encounter with the riders of Alleberg faded into a distant memory, a tale he would occasionally recount to his children and grandchildren. But the legend of the riders persisted in the local folklore, growing richer and more embellished with each retelling. It became a part of the cultural fabric of Falköping, a story that was passed down through generations. The village elders often spoke of the riders during long winter nights, huddled around the fire. When the fog lies thick over Alleberg, one can still glimpse the riders thundering out from the mountain hall, they would say, their voices filled with reverence and awe. The legend served as a reminder of the enduring spirit of the land and its people. It spoke of bravery, honor, and the unbreakable bond between past and present. For Eric and his family, it was a source of pride and wonder, a testament to the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. Decades later, Eric's grandson, Johan, found himself drawn to Alleberg. Johan was a curious young man with a thirst for adventure and a keen interest in history. He had heard his grandfather's tale countless times, and it had sparked a fascination with the ancient legends of Västergötland. One summer, Johan decided to explore the mountain for himself. Armed with a lantern and a sense of determination, he set out to uncover the truth behind the legend. The path to Alleberg was overgrown and treacherous, but Johan pressed on, guided by the stories that had been etched into his memory. As he neared the entrance to the cavern, Johan felt a chill run down his spine. The air was cool and still, just as his grandfather had described. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside, the flickering light of his lantern casting eerie shadows on the walls. The cavern was vast and silent, its ceiling soaring high above. Johann's footsteps echoed softly as he made his way deeper into the heart of the mountain. He followed the path his grandfather had taken, his heart pounding with anticipation. Finally, Johan entered the great hall. There, before him, lay the legendary riders of Alleberg. The knights were exactly as his grandfather had described, their armor gleaming in the dim light, their faces serene in slumber. Johann's breath caught in his throat as he took in the sight, the weight of history pressing down on him. As he stood there, a sense of awe washed over him. These were the guardians of the land, the protectors who would rise when the world needed them most. Johan felt a deep connection to the past, a bond that transcended time and space. He approached one of the knights, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of the cavern. In the knight's hand, he noticed a small, intricately carved pendant. It was a symbol of the order, a reminder of their vow to protect the realm. Johan reached out and gently touched the pendant, feeling a surge of energy course through him. At that moment, Johan understood the true meaning of the legend. It was not just a story, but a testament to the enduring spirit of the people and their land. The riders of Alleberg were more than just mythical figures. They were a symbol of hope and resilience. Johann left the cavern with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the legend of Alleberg's riders would continue to inspire future generations, just as it had inspired him. The story would live on, a beacon of light in the darkest of times. As Johann made his way back to Falköping, the sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the landscape. He felt a sense of peace, knowing that the riders were watching over the land, ready to awaken when needed. The legend of Alleberg's riders had become a part of him, a cherished legacy that he would carry forward. Years later, when Johann shared his experience with his own children, he included an additional piece of the legend that he had discovered. According to another tale from the areas around Alleberg, 12 brave warriors once lived on the mountain. They slept in a magnificent hall with a large table in the center, upon which lay 12 gleaming gold helmets. The horses had bridles of the reddest gold and silver-plated hooves. These warriors had appeared in the Battle of Oslo in 1389, when Queen Margaret, at the urging of Swedish nobles, settled accounts with the Swedish King Albert of Mecklenburg. In the heat of the battle, they were said to have suddenly appeared from nowhere, helped the Danish queen against Albert and his German stewards, and then disappeared without a trace after the battle. No one knew who these brave warriors were or where they came from, but since that day, the children of Phelan had been able to go to bed safely, assured that the 12 brave knights were watching over them. And so, dear listener, remember this tale when the fog rolls thick over Alleberg, for it is said that in those moments, if you listen closely, you might hear the distant echo of hoofbeats and the faint clang of armor, the sound of the riders of Alleberg, readying themselves for the day they will rise again. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with the magic of ancient legends, for within the heart of every legend lies a truth that endures through the ages.
Once upon a time, in the celestial realm of Asgard, there existed a radiant palace known as Valhalla. This magnificent hall, with its gleaming golden roof and towering walls, was the abode of the bravest warriors who had ever lived and died on the battlefield. These warriors, known as the Einherjar, were chosen by the Valkyries, a group of celestial maidens led by the powerful and beautiful Freyja. Every evening, Valhalla resonated with the sounds of laughter, music, and the clinking of goblets. The Valkyries, with their ethereal beauty and strength, served Heidrun's mead and Sarimner's pork to the Einherjar, who had spent the day battling each other to prepare for Ragnarok, the final battle against chaos. As the stars twinkled above, the hall would fill with tales of glory and heroism, while the Einherjar feasted and celebrated their eternal lives. Among the Valkyries, Skogul stood out with her fiery red hair and emerald green eyes. She was known for her fierce loyalty to Odin and her skill in combat. Every night she would pour Odin's horn with the finest mead and ensure that the bravest of the Einherjar were honored. However, Skogul harbored a secret longing in her heart. Despite her divine duty, she yearned for something more, something beyond the feasts and battles of Valhalla. One evening, as the Einherjar returned from Idavall covered in the blood of their daily skirmishes, Skogul noticed a newcomer among them. His name was Eirik, a warrior from Midgard who had recently fallen in battle. Unlike the other Einherjar, Eirik carried a sense of sorrow and unfinished business. Intrigued, Skogul approached him during the feast. "Eirik, son of Haldor, what burdens your heart?" she asked, her voice gentle yet commanding. Eirik looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. "Lady Skogul, I am honored to be chosen for Valhalla, but my heart aches for my beloved Ingrid, who remains in Midgard. I fell before I could keep my promise to her." Skogul felt a pang of empathy for Eirik. She knew the pain of unfulfilled promises and the longing for a life that could never be. "Tell me of your promise," she urged. Eric took a deep breath and recounted his tale. He and Ingrid had been betrothed, their love a beacon of hope in the war-torn lands of Midgard. They had sworn to marry under the great oak tree by the river, a symbol of their enduring love. But fate had other plans, and Eric fell in battle before he could fulfill his vow. Moved by his story, Skogul made a decision that would change her destiny. She resolved to help Eric keep his promise, even if it meant defying the norms of Asgard. That night, after the feast, she sought an audience with Freyja. My Lady Skogul began, bowing deeply before the Valkyrie leader. I seek your permission to descend to Midgard and aid Eric in fulfilling his promise to Ingrid. Freyja, with her golden hair and piercing blue eyes, regarded Skogul thoughtfully. You understand the risk, Skogul. Leaving Asgard for Midgard is no small feat, and the path is fraught with peril. I do, my lady. Skogul replied, her voice unwavering. But I believe this act of love and honor is worth the risk. Freya smiled, a hint of pride in her gaze. Very well, Skogul, you have my blessing. May the Norns guide your path. With Freyja's blessing, Skogul prepared for her journey. She donned her armor, took her spear and shield, and mounted her steed, a magnificent white horse named Hrimfaxi. As she descended from Asgard, the skies above Midgard grew darker, the winds howling with anticipation. Upon reaching Midgard, Skogul found herself in a land ravaged by war and sorrow. She made her way to Eric's village, where she found Ingrid mourning by the great oak tree. The sight of Ingrid's grief-stricken face strengthened Skogul's resolve. Ingrid. Skogul called out softly, dismounting her horse. I am Skogul, a Valkyrie from Asgard. I bring you news of Eric. Ingrid looked up, her eyes widening in disbelief. Eric? Is he? He is in Valhalla, among the bravest of warriors, Skogul reassured her. But he longs to fulfill his promise to you. I am here to help you both. Tears streamed down Ingrid's face as she listened to Skogul's words. But how? He is gone from this world. Skogul reached into her pouch and produced a small, glowing stone. This is a gift from Freyja. It has the power to bridge our worlds for a brief moment. You will have the chance to see Eric once more and fulfill your vow. Ingrid's heart swelled with hope as she took the stone from Skogul. Thank you, Lady Skogul. I cannot express my gratitude. As night fell, Skogul and Ingrid stood beneath the great oak tree. Skogul placed the stone on the ground and began to chant an ancient incantation. The air shimmered with magic, and a portal opened before them, revealing the radiant halls of Valhalla. From the portal emerged Eric, his eyes wide with astonishment and joy. Ingrid, he breathed, rushing to her side. Eric, Ingrid cried, embracing him tightly. I thought I had lost you forever. You never lost me, Eric whispered, holding her close. Our love transcends even death. As the portal remained open, Skogul watched the reunion with a sense of fulfillment. The power of love and honor had triumphed over the boundaries of life and death. Eric and Ingrid exchanged their vows under the great oak tree, their love shining brighter than ever. When the ceremony was complete, Eric turned to Skogul. Thank you, Lady Skogul. You have given us a gift beyond measure. Skogul smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in centuries. It was an honor. Eric, may your love continue to inspire others. With their vows fulfilled, the portal began to close. Eric and Ingrid shared one last embrace before Eric returned to Valhalla. As the portal vanished, Ingrid looked at Skogul with gratitude. What will become of you now? Skogul mounted Hrimfaxi and looked towards the horizon. I will return to Asgard, but I will carry your story with me. It will remind us all of the power of love and honor. With that, Skogul rode back to Asgard, the winds carrying her steed with grace and speed. When she returned to Valhalla, she was greeted by Freyja and the other Valkyries. Welcome back, Skogul, Freyja said, her eyes filled with warmth. You have done well. Skogul bowed deeply. Thank you, my lady. Eric and Ingrid's love has renewed my spirit. Freyja nodded. Their story will be told for generations to come, a testament to the strength of the human heart. As the days passed, Skogul continued her duties with a renewed sense of purpose. She served the Einarjar with pride, knowing that even in the midst of battle and feasting, the power of love and honor endured. One evening, as the feast in Valhalla reached its peak, Odin himself rose from his throne. The hall fell silent as he raised his goblet. To Skogul he declared, his voice echoing through the hall, "For her bravery and compassion, which remind us all of the true strength of a warrior." The Einarjar and Valkyries raised their goblets in unison, cheering Skogul's name. She felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging and pride. She had found her purpose not just in battle, but in the power of love and honor. Yet Skogul's journey was far from over. Although the tale of Eirik and Ingrid had brought peace to her heart, it had also awakened a deeper desire to understand the lives and struggles of those in Midgard. As she continued her duties in Valhalla, she often found herself thinking of the mortal realm, of its fleeting beauty and the strength of its people. One day, as Skogul patrolled the borders of Asgard, she encountered a mysterious figure cloaked in shadows. The figure revealed itself to be Verdandi, one of the three Norns who weave the threads of fate. Skogul Verdandi spoke, her voice echoing with ancient wisdom. "You have shown great compassion and courage. The Norns have seen your heart, and we offer you a choice." "A choice?" Skogul asked, her curiosity piqued. "Yes," Verdandi replied. "You may remain in Asgard, serving the Einarjar as you have always done. Or you may return to Midgard, to live among the mortals and guide them with your wisdom. This path is fraught with challenges, but it will also allow you to experience the fullness of life and love." Skogul's heart raced as she considered the offer. The allure of Midgard, with its endless possibilities and profound connections, called to her. She remembered Eirik and Ingrid, their love unbroken by the divide between life and death, and she felt a deep yearning to be part of that world. "I choose Midgard," Skogul declared. Her voice was firm and with resolve. "I wish to walk among the mortals and share in their struggles and triumphs." Verdandi nodded, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Very well, Skogul. Your choice is made. May your journey be guided by love and honor." With Verdandi's blessing, Skogul prepared to leave Asgard once more. She said her farewells to Freyja and the other Valkyries, who wished her well on her new path. As she mounted Hrimfaxi and descended to Midgard, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The mortal realm awaited her, with all its challenges and wonders. Upon her arrival in Midgard, Skogul found herself in a small village nestled in a lush valley. The villagers, initially wary of her presence, soon came to respect and admire her for her strength and kindness. Skogul shared her knowledge of healing and combat, helping the villagers defend themselves from raiders and nurture their crops. As the seasons passed, Skogul became an integral part of the village. She forged deep bonds with the people, experiencing the joys and sorrows of mortal life. She danced at weddings, mourned at funerals, and celebrated the harvest with the villagers. Through it all, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment that she had never known in Asgard. One winter, as snow blanketed the valley, a great threat loomed over the village. A band of ruthless marauders had been terrorizing the region, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The villagers, though brave, were no match for the marauders' ferocity. Skogul knew she had to act. She gathered the villagers and trained them in the art of war, instilling in them the courage and discipline of the Einarjar. With Skogul leading them, the villagers prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The battle was fierce, the air filled with the clash of steel and the cries of warriors. Skogul fought valiantly, her spear and shield moving with deadly precision. The villagers, inspired by her bravery, held their ground and pushed back against the marauders. As the sun began to set, the marauders finally retreated, their spirits broken by the villagers' resilience. The village had been saved, and Skogul's heart swelled with pride and gratitude for the people who had fought so bravely by her side. In the aftermath of the battle, the villagers gathered to honor Skogul. They erected a statue in her likeness at the center of the village, a symbol of her strength and compassion. Skogul, though humbled by the gesture, knew that the true victory lay in the bonds of love and community that had been forged through their struggle. Years passed, and Skogul continued to live among the villagers, guiding them with her wisdom and protecting them with her strength. She witnessed generations grow and thrive, each one carrying forward the lessons of honor and love that she had imparted. One evening, as Skogul stood beneath the great oak tree by the river, she felt a familiar presence. Turning, she saw Freyja, radiant and ethereal, standing before her. Skogul Freyja spoke, her voice filled with warmth. "You have chosen well. Your life among the mortals has brought light and hope to many." Skogul smiled, her heart filled with contentment. "Thank you, my lady. I have found a purpose here that I never imagined." Freyja nodded. "The Norns have woven a new thread into the tapestry of fate. You have become a bridge between our worlds, a living testament to the power of love and honor." As Freyja departed, Skogul felt a sense of peace wash over her. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she also knew that she had found her true calling. She would continue to walk among the mortals, guiding them with the wisdom of the Valkyries and the strength of the Einarjar. And so, the legend of Skogul, the Valkyrie who chose to live among the mortals, spread throughout Midgard. Her story became a beacon of hope and inspiration, reminding all who heard it that even in the face of death and adversity, the power of love and honor could shine brightest of all. As the stars twinkled above the village, Skogul stood beneath the great oak tree, looking out over the valley she had come to call home. She knew that the days of battle and feasting would continue, but she also knew that the power of love would forever guide her path. Thus the story of Skogul and the last feast of the Valkyries came to be, a timeless tale of courage, love, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.
In the far reaches of the ancient world, beyond the mists of time and the whispers of legend, there lay a realm shrouded in eternal twilight and bone-chilling cold. This was Helheim, the domain of Hel, ruler of the underworld. A giantess both feared and revered in Norse mythology. It is said that only those who did not fall gloriously in battle and were not taken by the Valkyries to Valhalla found their way to this shadowy domain, where Hel herself presided with a stern and unyielding gaze. Helheim was not a place of torment like the fiery hells of later tales, but a realm of somber stillness. Its entrance, Helgrind, loomed large and foreboding, an iron gate that groaned under the weight of countless souls passing through its threshold named Falling Ruin. The road leading to this gate, Helvig, wound its way through the frost-covered landscape like a serpent, twisting and turning through the mists and shadows. At the heart of Helheim stood Hel's Hall, a grand and imposing structure carved from the bones of ancient giants and draped in the darkness of eternal night. Her table was called Hunger, her knife Starvation, and the very air of her hall was filled with the chill of despair. Yet, Hel herself was not a figure of malevolence. She was a giantess of grim duty, born of Loki and the giantess Ankoboda, sister to the Midgard serpent and Fenrir the wolf. Her skin was half blue-black and half flesh-colored, a living embodiment of life and death. Hel's throne room was a place where time itself seemed to stand still. It was here that the souls of the dead came to rest, to await their fate in the cold embrace of the underworld. Despite her fearsome appearance, Hel ruled with a sense of detached fairness, ensuring that all who came to her domain received what was due. Her kingdom was one of order amidst the chaos of death, a place where the souls found a semblance of peace in the icy stillness. One evening, as the mists thickened and the cold grew deeper, Hel sat upon her throne, her eyes gazing into the void of the eternal night. She was contemplating the ancient prophecies that spoke of Ragnarok, the end of all things, when a whisper of movement caught her attention. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, his eyes glinting with a mischief that was all too familiar. "Loki," Hel said, her voice echoing through the hall like the distant call of a raven. "Daughter," Loki replied, a sly smile playing on his lips. "It has been too long since I walked these halls." Hel regarded her father with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "What brings you to my realm, father? Have you not caused enough trouble in the world above?" Loki chuckled, the sound reverberating through the icy silence. "Trouble is my nature, dear Hel, but today I come with a warning. The prophecies of Ragnarok are drawing near. The worlds of gods and men will soon be plunged into chaos." Hel's gaze did not waver. "And what do you seek from me, father? Do you wish me to unleash the dead upon the living to sow further discord?" "No," Loki said, stepping closer. "I come to ask you to stand with us, with your kin. The time will come when we must all choose sides, and your power, your wisdom will be crucial in the battles to come." Hel leaned back in her throne, her eyes narrowing. "You ask much, Loki, but you are my father, and blood calls to blood. When the time comes, I will do what I must." Loki bowed his head, a rare gesture of respect. "Thank you, Hel. Your loyalty will not be forgotten." As he turned to leave, the mist swirling around him, Hel's thoughts returned to the prophecies. She knew that the end was inevitable, that the worlds would burn and freeze in the fires and frosts of Ragnarok. But she also knew that she would play her part, whatever it might be. In the cold stillness of Helheim, the giantess Hel sat upon her throne, the eternal twilight casting long shadows across her hall. And in the silence, the souls of the dead whispered of the coming storm, their voices a chilling reminder of the fate that awaited all. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Helheim remained a place of unchanging stillness. Yet deep within its icy heart, preparations were quietly underway. However, the dutiful ruler began to summon the shades of the most ancient and powerful souls who resided in her realm. These were the spirits of long-dead kings, warriors and seers, whose wisdom and strength would be needed in the battles to come. One of these souls was that of Sigurd the Valiant, a legendary hero whose deeds were sung in the halls of men. His spirit, though bound to Helheim, retained the fierce determination and honor that had marked his life. Hel called upon him one twilight, her voice resonating through the Hall of the Dead. "Sigurd, champion of old, step forward," Hel commanded, her voice a blend of authority and respect. The spirit of Sigurd emerged from the shadows, his ethereal form still radiating the strength of his mortal days. He knelt before Hel, his eyes meeting hers without fear. "What do you ask of me, Lady of Helheim?" Sigurd inquired, his voice steady. "The time of Ragnarok approaches," Hel replied. "The realms of gods and men will soon face their final reckoning. I need you to stand with me to lead the souls of the dead in the coming conflict." Sigurd nodded, his gaze unwavering. "I swore my life to protect the realms. In death, that vow remains. I will stand by you, Hel, and fight for the balance of all worlds." Hel acknowledged his pledge with a nod. "Your courage and honor will be remembered, Sigurd. Prepare yourself and the others. The time draws near." As Sigurd departed to gather the shades, Hel turned her thoughts to another soul, one whose foresight and wisdom could tip the scales in their favor. She summoned the spirit of Gullveig, a powerful seeress whose visions had once guided the fate of kings and queens. Gullveig appeared, her form shimmering like the northern lights. Her eyes, filled with the knowledge of countless ages, met Hel's with a calm understanding. Gulvig, "O thy wise one, I seek your counsel," Hel said, her tone respectful. Gulvig inclined her head. "I am at your service, Hel. What do you wish to know?" "The prophecies speak of great turmoil and the fall of many," Hel began. "Tell me, how can we best prepare for the trials of Ragnarok?" Gulveig closed her eyes, her mind reaching into the threads of fate. After a moment, she spoke, her voice were of the wind. "The threads of destiny are tangled, but there is hope. You must forge alliances, not just with the dead, but with those above. The bonds of kinship and honor will be your greatest strength. Seek out those who have been wronged, those who seek redemption. Together, you may yet withstand the storm." Hel nodded, absorbing the seeress's words. "Thank you, Gulvig. Your wisdom is invaluable." With her plans set in motion, Hel turned her attention to the world above. Through the veil that separated the realms, she watched as the signs of Ragnarok began to manifest. The skies darkened. The winds howled with a fury unseen in ages, and the very earth trembled as if in anticipation of the coming chaos. It was in these dark times that Hel reached out to her brother, Fenrir the Wolf, who had been bound by the gods in an attempt to stave off the prophecy. With a surge of her power, she sent a message through the chains that held him. "Fenrir, my brother, the time has come. Ragnarok is upon us. Break your bonds and join me in the fight." Fenrir, sensing the urgency in his sister's call, summoned all his strength. The chains that bound him, forged by the gods with trickery and fear, began to strain and crack. With a final, mighty effort, Fenrir shattered his bonds, his roar echoing across the realms. He made his way to Helheim, his massive form casting a shadow over the icy landscape. Hel greeted him at the gates, her expression one of grim determination. "Welcome, brother," Hel said. "Your strength will be vital in the battles to come." Fenrir nodded, his eyes burning with a fierce light. "I have awaited this day for long. I will stand by you, Hel, and we will face the end together." With her brother at her side, Hel felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, but she was ready. The forces of Helheim, bolstered by the spirits of the ancient dead and the fierce loyalty of her kin, prepared to face the coming storm. As the final days of peace dwindled, Hel received one last visitor. A figure draped in a cloak of feathers, Odin the Allfather, stepped into her hall. His single eye, filled with the wisdom of ages, met Hel's with a mixture of respect and solemnity. Hel inclined her head. "Odin, what brings you to my realm in these dark times?" "Hel, ruler of the underworld," Odin greeted, his voice deep and resonant. "I come not as an enemy, but as an ally." Odin stepped forward, his presence commanding yet respectful. "Ragnarok is inevitable. The worlds will be torn asunder and many will perish. But there is a chance, a slim hope, that we can shape the outcome. I seek your aid, Hel. Together, we may yet steer the fate of the realms." Hel regarded him thoughtfully. "You ask much, Allfather, but I see the truth in your words. Very well, Odin. I will stand with you, not for the gods, but for the balance of all things." Odin nodded, a rare smile touching his lips. "Thank you, Hel. Your wisdom and strength will be crucial." With that, Odin departed, leaving Hel to ponder the strange alliances forged in the face of Ragnarok. As the final moments of peace slipped away, the realms prepared for the ultimate conflict. In the heart of Helheim, Hel stood ready, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the first signs of the storm began to gather. She was not a deity of wrath or vengeance, but a guardian of balance, a ruler of the dead who would fight to preserve the order of all worlds. As the twilight deepened over the icy realm of Helheim, the shadows grew still, and a profound silence enveloped the hall. Hel, the steadfast guardian of the dead, gazed out over her domain with a serene and knowing expression. The souls, now at rest, whispered softly in the cold air, their voices a gentle lullaby. With the prophecies set in motion and the preparations complete, Hel's gaze softened, offering a sense of calm and assurance. And so, in the quiet embrace of the eternal night, the tale drew to a close, and the story of Ragnarok will be told in another tale. In the time before time, when the worlds of gods and men were intricately woven together, there was a god named Tyr. He was one of the eldest of the Aesir, revered as the sky god, the god of war, and the guardian of justice. In those ancient days, his name was invoked by warriors on the eve of battle and by those seeking fairness in the courts of Asgard. Tyr's valor and integrity were unmatched, making him a figure of respect and admiration among gods and mortals alike. Tyr's parentage was a subject of much debate among the sagas. Some whispered that he was the son of the giant Hymir, known for his formidable strength and wisdom. Others claimed he was the offspring of Odin the All-Father, whose cunning and power were unrivaled. Regardless of his origins, Tyr stood out as a paragon of virtue and bravery. He was often depicted wielding a mighty sword, although legends also spoke of him carrying a spear, a symbol of his readiness to face any challenge. In the shadowy corners of Asgard, a prophecy loomed large, foretelling a beast of immense power and malice, the Fenris wolf. Born from the chaos sown by Loki, Fenris grew with terrifying speed and strength, causing the gods to tremble at the mere thought of his potential for destruction. It was said that during Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, Fenris would break free from his bonds and unleash havoc, signaling the end of days. The gods, ever wise and vigilant, sought to bind Fenris and delay the cataclysm he promised. They forged mighty chains, each stronger than the last, and challenged Fenris to break them. The wolf, confident in his strength, shattered each chain with ease, laughing at their futile attempts. Desperation led the gods to the dwarves of Svartalfheim, master smiths known for their unparalleled craftsmanship. They were tasked with creating a chain that could hold Fenris, a chain that defied the very laws of nature. The dwarves, with their profound knowledge of the mystical and arcane, fashioned Gleipnir, a chain unlike any other. It was made from 6 impossible things: the sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Gleipnir was as thin as a silken ribbon, yet stronger than any iron forged by mortal hands. Equipped with Gleipnir, the gods confronted Fenris again, disguising the task as a playful challenge. Fenris, shrewd and cautious, suspected deceit. He consented to being bound only if one of the gods would place their hand in his mouth as a sign of trust and sincerity. The gods hesitated, knowing the risk was great. It was then that Tyr, ever brave and resolute, stepped forward. With calm determination, Tyr met Fenris's gaze and placed his right hand within the beast's maw. As the gods tightened Gleipnir around Fenris, the wolf realized the trick and bit down with all his might. Tyr did not flinch as his hand was severed, for he knew the sacrifice was necessary. The gods rejoiced as Fenris was bound, unable to unleash his fury upon the world. Time passed, and with it, the prominence of the gods shifted. Odin, the All-Father, assumed the mantle of the supreme war god, and Tyr's once central role faded into the background. The age of the Vikings saw Odin's name rise to great heights, his wisdom and power becoming the focal point of worship. Yet the legacy of Tyr endured, etched into the hearts of those who valued honor and justice above all. As the years turned into centuries, the day dedicated to Tyr, Teistaga, echoed through the ages, its roots entwined with the Roman Mars, the god of war. When the Latin day Martis transformed into the Old Norse Teistaga, it carried with it the memory of the noble god who had once sacrificed his hand to save the world. This day, now known as Tuesday, remains a silent testament to Tyr's bravery and sacrifice. In the quiet of the night, under a canopy of stars, the tale of Tyr's courage and sacrifice continued to be told. Around hearth fires and in mead halls, skalds and storytellers shared the legend, reminding all who heard it that true strength lay not in might alone, but in unwavering commitment to what is just and right. Even in the face of certain loss, Tyr's legacy lived on, a beacon of bravery and the eternal struggle for justice. In the hidden valleys and misty forests of Midgard, among the mortal descendants of those ancient times, the spirit of Tyr's sacrifice endured. Warriors carried his emblem into battle, seeking to embody his honor and courage. Judges invoked his name when delivering fair and just decisions, striving to mirror his integrity. The very essence of Tyr became woven into the fabric of everyday life, a guiding light in a world often fraught with darkness and deceit. As Ragnarok approached, the prophesied end of days, the memory of Tyr's sacrifice grew even more poignant. It was said that on the final day, when the forces of chaos would rise and the gods would make their last stand, Tyr would return. Despite his lost hand, he would fight valiantly, a testament to the enduring power of sacrifice and justice. And though the outcome of Ragnarok was uncertain, the legacy of Tyr's courage would shine brightly, a reminder to all that even in the face of annihilation, the spirit of justice and honor could not be extinguished. The mead halls of Asgard were often filled with tales of Tyr, shared by those who had witnessed his deeds firsthand. One such tale recounted the time when Tyr journeyed to Jotunheim, the land of giants, to negotiate peace on behalf of the Aesir. The giants, known for their treachery and cunning, had long been in conflict with the gods. Tyr, with his unwavering sense of justice, believed that peace could be achieved through dialogue and mutual respect. Accompanied by a small band of warriors, Tyr ventured deep into the heart of Jotunheim. The journey was perilous, filled with trials that tested their courage and resolve. They crossed treacherous mountains, braved icy rivers, and faced the fearsome creatures that roamed the land. Throughout their journey, Tyr's leadership and bravery shone through, inspiring his companions to press on despite the dangers. Upon reaching the court of the giant king, Tyr spoke with eloquence and conviction, presenting the case for peace. His words, filled with wisdom and sincerity, moved the hearts of many giants. However, there were those who remained skeptical, their mistrust of the gods deeply ingrained. One such giant, named Skrymir, challenged Tyr to a contest of strength and cunning, believing that only through such a trial could the sincerity of the gods be proven. Tyr accepted the challenge without hesitation, knowing that his actions would speak louder than words. The contest was grueling, testing not only physical prowess but also mental acuity. Tyr and Skrymir wrestled for hours, their struggle shaking the very earth beneath them. Despite the loss of his hand, Tyr's strength and determination were unmatched. With a final mighty effort, he brought Skrymir to his knees, proving not just his strength, but the sincerity of his quest for peace. Impressed by Tyr's valor and honor, Skrymir conceded, and a treaty was forged between the Aesir and the giants. This act of diplomacy, achieved through strength and wisdom, further solidified Tyr's reputation as a god of justice and integrity. The peace brought prosperity to both realms, and the story of Tyr's journey to Jotunheim became another chapter in his enduring legacy. Years passed, and the tale of Tyr's sacrifice and his journey to Jotunheim continued to inspire new generations. Among the mortals of Midgard, his name became synonymous with fairness and bravery. Children were taught to emulate his virtues, and his stories were passed down through families, ensuring that his legacy would never be forgotten. In Asgard, the gods looked upon Tyr with a mix of reverence and sorrow. They knew that his sacrifice and unwavering sense of justice set him apart, a beacon of what they should strive to be. Odin, in particular, felt a deep sense of respect for Tyr, recognizing the unique role he played in maintaining the balance of the cosmos. As the days grew darker and the signs of Ragnarok became more apparent, the gods prepared for the inevitable conflict. Tyr, ever vigilant and steadfast, stood ready to face the coming storm. His lost hand, a symbol of his sacrifice, served as a reminder of the price he was willing to pay for the greater good. On the day of Ragnarok, the skies darkened and the earth trembled as the forces of chaos surged forth. The gods, led by Odin and Thor, met their enemies on the field of battle. Among them stood Tyr, his presence a source of strength and courage for all who fought beside him. The battle was fierce, and the fate of the world hung in the balance. Tyr confronted the fearsome hound Garm, a creature of immense ferocity who guarded the gates of hell. Even with his hand lost, Tyr fought with unparalleled valor, his spirit unwavering. Their titanic clash resonated through the realms, a testament to their immense power and determination. In the end, both fell, their bodies broken, but their spirits undiminished. Though Ragnarok brought about great destruction, it was not the end. From the ashes of the old world, a new one emerged, shaped by the sacrifices and deeds of those who had fought bravely. The legacy of Tyr, the one-handed god, lived on in this new world, a testament to the enduring power of sacrifice, justice, and honor. In the hearts of gods and men alike, Tyr's story remained a beacon of hope and resilience. His name continued to be invoked by those seeking justice and by warriors preparing for battle. The legend of Tyr, the god who had given his hand to bind the wolf and his life to protect the realms, endured as a guiding light, inspiring future generations to strive for the same ideals of bravery, integrity, and sacrifice. And so, as the stars glittered in the night sky, the tale of Tyr's courage and sacrifice was passed down from one generation to the next. It reminded all who heard it that true strength lay not in might alone, but in the unwavering commitment to what is just and right, even in the face of certain loss. For Tyr, the one-handed god, would forever stand as a beacon of bravery, a symbol of the enduring power of sacrifice and the eternal struggle for justice. In the days when Yggdrasil's branches still stretched vibrant across the 9 realms and the well of Mimir whispered ancient truths to those brave enough to drink from it, Odin Allfather roamed the lands, seeking wisdom and understanding. His 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, brought him tidings of the world, and his wolves, Geri and Freki, accompanied him in silent loyalty. Yet despite his vast knowledge, there was one realm he had yet to fully comprehend. That was Midgard, the land of men. Odin had seen mortals from afar, their lives fleeting like sparks in a fire, their deeds both wondrous and dreadful. Curiosity gnawed at him, for he desired to know the heart of humanity, to understand their struggles and triumphs. And so, one misty morning, cloaked in the guise of a wandering elder with a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his single, piercing eye, he descended from Asgard to walk among men. The Allfather found himself in a small village nestled within a dense forest, where the scent of pine mingled with the earthy aroma of the soil. The villagers, simple folk who toiled the land and revered the old gods, paid him little heed, assuming him to be another weary traveler. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Odin approached a modest hut at the edge of the village. The door creaked open, revealing a young man with kind eyes and a face etched with the lines of hard work and worry. "Good evening, traveler," the man said. "You must be weary. Please come inside and rest. My name is Bjorn." Grateful for the hospitality, Odin stepped inside the humble abode. The interior was sparse, yet warm, with a hearth crackling cheerfully and the faint aroma of stew wafting through the air. Bjorn's wife, Hegvid, a woman with a gentle smile and a quiet strength about her, welcomed him with a bowl of hearty stew. As they ate, Odin observed them closely. Their hands were rough and calloused, their faces marked by the relentless passage of time, yet there was a light in their eyes, a resilience, a quiet determination. They spoke of their daily labors, their hopes and fears, and the small joys that punctuated their days. Bjorn shared tales of their ancestors, of great heroes and daring deeds, and of the gods they revered. "We are but simple folk," Bjorn said, "and our lives are often hard. But we strive to live with honor, as the gods have taught us." Moved by their sincerity and their unwavering faith, Odin decided to reveal his identity. The firelight danced in his single stormy eye, and his voice, though soft, held the weight of ages. "I am Odin, the Allfather, and I have come to understand your kind." Bjorn and Hegvid fell to their knees, their eyes wide with awe and fear. "Great Odin," Bjorn whispered, "we are not worthy of your presence." Odin raised a hand to still their fears. "Rise." Bjorn and Hegvid, "It is not worthiness I seek, but understanding. Tell me of your hardships and why you continue to honor us despite the trials you face." Bjorn hesitated, then spoke from his heart. "Life is often cruel, great Allfather. The winters are long and harsh, the harvest sometimes meager. We lose loved ones to illness and accidents. Yet we endure. We find strength in our faith, in the love we have for one another, and in the hope that our struggles are not in vain." Hegvid added, "We honor the gods because you give us hope. Your stories inspire us, your blessings guide us. Even in our darkest hours, we believe that you watch over us." Odin felt a pang of humility, a deep sense of pity for these fragile yet resilient beings. They lived their lives with such tenacity and hope despite the relentless hardships they faced. He saw in them a reflection of the gods' own struggles and the eternal battle against chaos. As the night wore on, Odin sat with Bjorn and Hegvid, listening to their stories of love and loss, of joy and sorrow. They spoke of the birth of their son, Leif, who had passed away in his infancy. The pain in their voices was palpable. A raw wound that time had only partly healed. "We buried him beneath the old oak tree," Hegvid said, tears glistening in her eyes. "It is said that the spirits of the forest guard the souls of the departed. We visit him every day, and it is our belief that he watches over us, even in death." Odin was deeply moved by their enduring love and the strength they drew from their beliefs. He realized that the mortals' connection to their loved ones, both living and dead, was a source of immense power. This bond, forged through shared experiences and deep emotions, was something even the gods could learn from. Bjorn and Hegvid continued to share their lives with Odin, speaking of the times when their faith was tested. There were seasons when the crops failed and they faced hunger. They told of harsh winters when the cold seeped into their bones and they huddled together for warmth, drawing strength from their love for each other. "Through it all, we have learned to find joy in the little things," Bjorn said. "The warmth of the sun after a long winter, the laughter of children playing, the comfort of a shared meal. These moments remind us that life, despite its hardships, is precious and beautiful." Odin listened intently, his heart swelling with respect for these humble mortals. He saw that their lives, though fraught with challenges, were filled with a depth of experience and emotion that even the gods might envy. Their resilience in the face of adversity, their capacity for love and compassion, and their unyielding faith were qualities that transcended their mortality. As dawn approached, Odin rose to leave, but not before bestowing a blessing upon Bjorn and Hegvid. From this day forth he declared, "I know that the gods shall watch over you with greater care. Your endurance, your hope, and your honor are a testament to your strength. You are not as fleeting as you believe, for in your hearts lies the courage of heroes and the wisdom of the ages." With that, Odin blessed their home, ensuring that their crops would flourish and their hearth would never go cold. As he stepped out into the early morning light, he turned to Bjorn and Hegvid one last time. "Remember, you are never alone. The gods are with you always." The villagers awoke to find their land transformed. The fields, once barren, were now lush and green. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the village seemed to glow with a newfound vitality. Word quickly spread of the gods' visit, and the villagers gathered to thank Odin, their hearts filled with gratitude and reverence. Returning to Asgard, Odin shared his encounter with the other gods. "There is much we can learn from the mortals," he said. "They are not just followers, they are kindred spirits, worthy of our guidance and protection." The gods listened, and they too began to look upon Midgard with renewed compassion and vigilance. Inspired by the resilience and hope of mankind, they resolved to be more present in the lives of their mortal followers, offering guidance and aid in times of need. Months passed, and Odin found himself drawn back to the village, now flourishing under his blessing. He walked among the villagers unnoticed, observing their daily lives. He saw Bjorn teaching young children to carve wood, passing down the skills of their ancestors. Hegvid was in the garden, tending to the plants that now grew in abundance. Their faces, once marked by worry, now shone with contentment and purpose. One evening, as the village gathered around a great bonfire to celebrate the harvest, Odin revealed himself once more. The villagers gasped in awe, but there was no fear this time, only reverence and gratitude. Bjorn and Hegvid stepped forward, their eyes meeting Odin's with a profound understanding. "Odin Allfather," Bjorn began, his voice steady and filled with respect, "you have blessed us beyond measure. Our crops grow plentiful, our homes are warm, and our hearts are full, but we seek more than just your blessings. We wish to learn from you to grow in wisdom and strength, so that we may honor the gods not just in prayer, but in our deeds." Odin smiled, a sense of pride swelling within him. "You have already shown great wisdom, Bjorn. The strength of your spirit, the depth of your love, and the resilience of your heart are lessons even the gods hold dear. But I will stay among you for a time to share what I know and to learn from you in return." And so Odin stayed in the village, disguised as a wise elder. He taught them of the runes, the sacred symbols that held the power of the cosmos. He shared stories of the gods, of their battles and their sacrifices, and the lessons they imparted. But more importantly, he listened, absorbing the wisdom of the mortals, their unique perspective on life, and the profound simplicity of their joys and sorrows. During his time in the village, Odin came to understand the depth of human creativity and ingenuity. He watched as they crafted tools and art, transforming simple materials into objects of beauty and utility. He saw the way they cared for one another, their compassion extending not just to their kin, but to the stranger and the outcast. One particularly harsh winter, the village faced a dire situation. A plague had spread through the nearby lands, and it reached their community, threatening to undo all the good that had come from Odin's blessing. Odin, deeply moved by their plight, took action. He called upon his divine powers to heal the sick, but he also guided the villagers in using their own knowledge of herbs and remedies. He showed them how to strengthen their defenses against future illnesses, blending the divine with the practical. As spring returned, bringing warmth and renewal, the village emerged stronger than before. The bond between them and Odin had deepened, built on mutual respect and shared experience. They had faced adversity together, and through it they had grown wiser and more resilient. When the time came for Odin to return to Asgard, he gathered the villagers for one final meeting. "You have taught me much," he said, his voice filled with reverence. "Your lives, though brief, are filled with a richness that even the gods envy. Your ability to find joy in the midst of sorrow, to love fiercely, and to endure with grace is a testament to your strength." The villagers, now friends and confidants, looked upon Odin with tears in their eyes. "And you, All-Father, have shown us the divine within ourselves," Bjorn replied. "We are honored to have walked with you, and we will carry your teachings in our hearts." With a final blessing, Odin took his leave, promising to watch over them always. As he ascended back to Asgard, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had come seeking understanding, and he had found it in the hearts of humanity. And so from that day forward, the bond between gods and men grew stronger, forged through shared trials and triumphs. Odin's first encounter with humanity had revealed the profound depth of the mortal spirit, a lesson that would echo through the halls of Valhalla for all eternity. The All-Father's compassion, once kindled, would forever burn brightly, a beacon of hope and understanding in the eternal dance between the divine and the mortal. And with that, we say goodbye for this time. Thank you for listening to our story, Divine Compassion, Odin's first walk among men. In the heart of ancient lands, deep in the north, where fjords and mountains embraced the sky and the northern lights danced across the heavens, there stood Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its branches stretched out across the realms, and its roots delved deep into the earth, reaching into the realms of gods, giants, and men. Among these roots lay the sacred Well of Erd, also known as Mimir's Well. This well, shrouded in mystery and ancient magic, was believed to hold waters that granted cosmic wisdom to those who drank from it. Mimir, the ancient guardian of the well, was a being of immense wisdom and power. His eyes, like deep pools of knowledge, had seen the rise and fall of countless ages. He was the keeper of secrets, the advisor of gods, and the one who tested those who sought the wisdom of the well. His presence was both revered and feared, for the price of the well's waters was known to be steep. One fateful day, Odin, the All-Father and ruler of Asgard, descended from the heavens to Mimir's Well. Odin, known for his insatiable thirst for knowledge and power, had long pondered the mysteries of the universe. His eyes, renowned for their piercing beauty and unmatched sight, glimmered with a purpose known only to him. As he approached the well, his heart was filled with a determination that only the All-Father could muster. Mimir greeted Odin with a solemn nod. "You seek the waters of Erd, All-Father, but know this wisdom comes at a price, and not just any offering will suffice." Odin, resolute and unwavering, responded, "I am prepared to give what is necessary. My desire for wisdom is boundless, for with it I can guide the 9 realms and foresee the threats that loom over us all." Mimir's eyes, old and knowing, seemed to pierce through Odin's soul. "What will you offer, Odin? What gift will you bestow upon the well?" Without hesitation, Odin reached up to his face and plucked out one of his eyes. Blood streamed down his cheek as he held the eye, still shining with the light of his vision, and presented it to Mimir. "I offer you my eye, the source of my sight, in exchange for a drink from the well." Mimir took the eye and gazed at it for a long moment before nodding. "Very well, Odin. Your sacrifice is accepted." He handed Odin a horn filled with the shimmering waters of the well. As Odin drank deeply, a transformation began. The water coursed through him, imbuing him with the knowledge of the cosmos. He saw the past, the present, and the future. He understood the intricate weave of fate and the destiny of all beings. He became the wisest of all the gods, with the ability to see and foretell the events of the 9 worlds. But with this newfound wisdom came a burden. Odin saw the inevitable conflicts and tragedies that lay ahead. He foresaw the twilight of the gods, Ragnarok, and the destruction and rebirth that would follow. Yet, he also saw the resilience of life and the enduring spirit of the worlds. As he finished drinking, Odin looked at Mimir with his remaining eye, now filled with a depth of understanding that surpassed even the Guardian's wisdom. "Why did you desire my eye above all else?" he asked. Mimir smiled enigmatically. "Your eye, Odin, was more than just a source of sight. It was a symbol of your perspective, your vision. By sacrificing it, you demonstrated your willingness to embrace a greater truth, one that transcends mere sight. And in doing so, you have gained a wisdom that no eye alone could provide." Accepting the truth of Mimir's words, he nodded and turned and walked away from the well, his mind filled with the knowledge he had sought and the weight of the future he had glimpsed. The price had been high, but the wisdom he gained would guide him and the realms through the ages to come. Upon returning to Asgard, the gods and goddesses gathered around Odin, noticing the change in their lord. Frigg, his wife, approached him with concern. "What have you done, Odin? What price have you paid for this wisdom?" Odin took Frigg's hand and looked into her eyes with his single, all-seeing eye. "I have sacrificed an eye for the knowledge of the cosmos, for the ability to protect our realms from the threats that lie ahead." Frigg, with her own gift of foresight, nodded in understanding. "Then we must trust in the path you have chosen, for the wisdom you now possess will guide us through the coming storms." In the days that followed, Odin's newfound wisdom became evident to all. He spoke of events yet to come, of dangers that lurked in the shadows, and of the steps that needed to be taken to safeguard the Nine Realms. His eye, once a symbol of his physical sight, had become a symbol of his deeper, cosmic vision. Yet the sacrifice of his eye was not without its challenges. Odin often found himself contemplating the future, burdened by the knowledge of inevitable losses and the trials that lay ahead. The weight of this wisdom was heavy, but Odin bore it with the strength and resolve that had always defined him. One night, as Odin sat alone in his great hall, overlooking the worlds from his high seat, he pondered the knowledge he had gained. The hall was silent, save for the crackling of the fire and the distant howls of the wolves that roamed the lands. The future was a tapestry of both light and darkness, and Odin knew that the choices he made would shape the fate of the cosmos. As he gazed into the fire, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Loki, the trickster god, whose mischief was as legendary as his cunning. Loki's eyes sparkled with curiosity and a hint of mockery. "So, Odin, you've traded an eye for wisdom. Tell me, was it worth it?" Odin met Loki's gaze, his single eye filled with a calm certainty. "The price was high, Loki, but the wisdom I have gained is invaluable. With it, I can guide the realms through the trials that lie ahead." Loki smirked. "Ah, but wisdom alone does not guarantee victory. The paths you see are but threads in a vast web of fate. Even you, All-Father, cannot control everything." Odin nodded, acknowledging the truth in Loki's words. "You are right, Loki. Wisdom is but one part of the equation. It must be coupled with courage, strength, and the will to act." Loki's expression softened, and for a moment a rare seriousness crossed his features. "Then may your wisdom guide us all, Odin, for the storms that come will test us in ways we cannot yet imagine." With that, Loki disappeared back into the shadows, leaving Odin to his thoughts. The All-Father knew that the challenges ahead would require the unity and strength of all the gods. His sacrifice had been a personal one, but the wisdom it granted would serve the greater good of all the realms. In the weeks that followed, Odin began to share his knowledge with the other gods. He held councils in Asgard where he spoke of the future and the steps they needed to take to prepare. The gods listened intently, for they knew that Odin's wisdom was a beacon of hope in uncertain times. Heimdall, the vigilant guardian of the Bifrost bridge, came to Odin one day. "All-Father, your vision extends far beyond what any of us can see. What do you foresee for us, the protectors of Asgard? Odin placed a hand on Heimdall's shoulder. Heimdall, your watchful eyes and keen senses are vital to our defense. The time will come when you must sound the Jallarhorn to call us to battle. Until then, remain vigilant and trust in your instincts. Heimdall nodded, his resolve strengthened by Odin's words. The Guardian returned to his post, more determined than ever to protect the realms. As the seasons changed, Odin's wisdom began to influence not just the gods, but the mortal realms as well. He sent ravens, Hugin and Munin, to gather information and share his insights with the leaders of Midgard. The mortals, though unaware of the true source of their guidance, felt a newfound sense of purpose and direction. One evening, as the stars twinkled in the night sky, Odin sat with Frigg in their private garden in Asgard. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of a nearby waterfall provided a soothing backdrop. Odin, Frigg said softly, "Do you ever regret your sacrifice?" Odin looked into Frigg's eyes, seeing the love and concern reflected there. "There are moments when the weight of the knowledge feels heavy, but I do not regret it. The wisdom I gained has already begun to shape our future for the better." Frigg smiled and placed a gentle kiss on Odin's cheek. "Your strength and sacrifice inspire us all. Together, we will face whatever comes." As the night deepened, Odin and Frigg sat in peaceful silence, their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced and the wisdom they had gained. The All-Father's sacrifice had set in motion a series of events that would shape the fate of the cosmos, and he knew that with his family and allies by his side, they would be ready for whatever the future held. The story of Odin's sacrifice and the wisdom of Mimir's well became a legend, a timeless tale passed down through generations. It was a reminder that true wisdom often comes at a great cost, but its value is immeasurable. And so the tale of Odin's Eye continued to inspire those who heard it, a testament to the power of vision, sacrifice, and the unyielding quest for knowledge. And with that, we say goodbye for this time. Thank you for listening to our story Foresight and Fate, Odin's legendary sacrifice.